Hello everyone, it's ByronTheDragonKing, and here we are with a brand new video. Today we're covering another PhamtomStrider video, and this time it's the top 10 worst movies of all time video featuring the Nostalgia Critic, who's barely in the video. I'm just going to get that out of the way. He's like not even in this video, so it's kind of like false advertising. And my issue with this is just, this is a bad top 10 list. It's really idiotic and doesn't really make sense. I don't really know what scale he's going off of, and some of these movies range from like bootleg movies to Adam Sandler movies to I don't want to spoil the list, so let's get in on the video.
So let's check out the top 10 worst movies of all time. And as always, if you do like these movies, that's great. It's just my silly personal opinion, and I'm glad you can enjoy something that I can't.
Just like the last video where we were covering the top 5 anime I hate that everyone likes, he has this stupid disclaimer that every top 10 video does, talking about this, where it's like, oh, if you like this and I don't, that's okay. And it's like, wow, who could have thunk? And like, I don't know, as you can see, like, he didn't really like quantify his rules for this video, which we'll get back on later in this video.
Anyway, whoa, hey Nostalgia Critic, how you doing? I was actually just checking out the worst movies of all time.
Oh, come on, Strider. We all know that Garbage Pail Kids is the worst movie of all time.
Yeah, Garbage Pail Kids is bad, but I actually think there are movies out there that are even worse.
Prove it!
Fine, I will.
Alright, there's our first Nostalgia Critic, I guess, part of the video. Kind of underwhelming. It really feels like he recorded this in like a couple minutes, and I don't know, I just don't like the skits PhamtomStrider does when he's live action. I don't think they're funny, I don't think they're good. They're not even like over the top or weird or anything like that, so they're not really even fun in that regard.
Number 10. Pledge This, starring Paris Hilton.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never even heard of this movie before this video, so I have nothing really to say on it beforehand, so let's see what PhamtomStrider has to say about it, and we'll see if there's anything to respond to.
Society can only tolerate so much in celebrity stupidity before they say, wait a minute, we just watched the most obnoxious pampered female celebrity on the planet produce a film about exploding toilets and collecting used condoms. What the hell is wrong with us? Paris Hilton produces and stars in this sad defecation on the face of all moving pictures that ever existed, giving us only the worst in elitism, vapid self-indulgence, and whatever passes for comedy in that small vacuous chamber, barely holding her ears apart. If you could concentrate all the empty-headed vapidness of a spoiled sweet 16 rich girl into one movie, I think it would look something like this. Everyone is treated like a derogatory stereotype dreamt up by a 12-year-old Call of Duty troll. Indians, Mexicans, drag queens, homosexuals, even the overweight are derogatory. If you're not rich, then you ought to be made fun of. The movie is packed with overly coarse sex jokes, even by college movie standards, and the kind of painful, self-absorbed entitlement that got Paris Hilton her reputation in the first place.
As far as I'm concerned, she can have that tiny bastard.
Pledge This made me deeply question the true value of money. Because if money makes me even closely related to this, I'll take my patchy jacket and cardboard box right now. However, and you will never hear me say this again, in defense of Paris Hilton, she had some major scumbag directors on staff, and she ended up boycotting her own premiere because they had nude scenes, which she was very angry about. I don't know what she was originally trying to tell us, but it rapidly became the concentrated evil of everything wrong with frat boy movies.
I don't know, it sounds like some bargain bin Walmart movie to me. Yeah, it does sound bad. I don't know if it's the 10th worst movie of all time, but from his description, yeah, it sounds bad. I have no issue with it being on the list, but like, at the same time, it just sounds very mediocre and like every other comedy movie from the early 2000s, like, oh no, used condoms and shit jokes. It's like, yeah, this sounds like some random movie you would see on Comedy Central in like 2 in the afternoon, like a decade ago. I don't know. It sounds just kind of shit, but not like offensively shit.
And the 9th worst movie is the Star Wars Holiday Special. Many of us remember the powerful, epic moments of Luke first rescuing Leia and using the Force to destroy the Death Star in A New Hope. But then, our buddy George gave A New Hope a follow-up before Empire Strikes Back. A holiday special with so much sandbagging, painful corniness, just weird moments and plain nonsense that it makes the entire franchise worse just by existing. They wrote a fanfiction about a special Star Wars Wookiee Day. Let's call it Life Day. Life Day remains the most idiotic, brainless, corny title for a holiday I've ever heard. You just hear that title and you immediately know you're in for something so campy that it makes Brady Bunch look like a dark, sinister horror. And the movie is 98% sandbagging. If we're not watching the Wookiee Cooking Channel, bizarrely colored mini dances, Wars or a Wookiee's alone time. We're watching pug-fugly animations about Boba Fett. I am convinced that every single fanfiction for Star Wars ever written would be more interesting than this thing. George Lucas himself despises this special, and I quote him saying, "If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I would track down every copy of this show and smash it."
Okay, the Star Wars Christmas special. Yeah, no one likes that shit. My dad, like, I talked to him about this once, and he was like, yeah, it was so fucking bad when it came out. It was absolutely terrible. So I'll give this one to PhamtomStrider. This is bad. Is it the 9th worst? I don't know. But he's talking about sandbagging and terrible pacing when all his videos are just, like, overly bloated. It's weird. Like, sometimes he'll make a top 10 video, and, like, he'll have, like, 30 seconds most for a response. And then there's this one where I have to, like, speed it up just to, like, not waste everyone's time, because it's just like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's just like him saying adjectives over and over again, like, oh, the pacing's bad, oh, Wookiees, blah blah blah, and it's just like, dude, this shit's fucking boring. Like, speed this shit up.
And the 8th worst movie is The Room.
I did not hit her. I did not.
For those who don't know, a very socially challenged alien man named Tommy Wiseau created, well, something. None of us quite sure what he made, but it has him in it, doing stuff, and talking in perhaps the most hilariously socially inept imitations in the history of mankind.
Lisa loves you too, as a person, as a human being.
The Room is a cult classic, and rightfully so. This movie is so impressively awkward that it makes community theater look like Citizen Kane. Very few people I know actually hate The Room because it's such an earnest piece of work. It does at heart feel like a poor me story about vilifying this poor girl Lisa, but it's so wonderfully awkward in delivering its message that despite being one of the worst movies ever made, it's also still really funny. Just trying to conceive the demented reality Tommy made this movie in. The true goal of the movie seems to be Tommy's strange attempts to convince us that he's a perfectly normal member of society, with a banking job, a girlfriend, future career plans, and a drug-dealing orphan he looks after. Tommy just wants the world to think he's normal. But the problem is that no matter what humdrum activities Tommy throws at us, from buying flowers to playing football with his friends, you can't help but still see him as that shady midnight manager at Shell with a creepy leer in his eye. Tommy, it's okay to be you. We know you're a creepy alien, and that's the way we like you. You just keep making the most abysmal films our world has ever seen, and I'm sure we'll keep enjoying them.
Honestly, I could have skipped up to now and probably a few more of the spaces and saved everyone some time, but I'm showing how, like, this video started off good. And yeah, number 8, The Room. Yeah, people don't like The Room as well. People like it, but they like it because it's so bad it's good. They don't like it on its own merits, arguably. And yeah, this is an okay, like, pick. So far so good, but trust me, once we get there, we're gonna get there for just, like, bad takes.
And the 7th worst movie is Turkish Star Wars, aka The Man Who Saved the World. 2 space cadets crash land on a desert planet, where an evil wizard seeks the ultimate power to take over the world. I tell you this plot summary I read because only the demented mind of the creator could possibly actually understand what's going on in this discombobulated mess of low production values, stolen footage, and Mardi Gras costumes. Directed by Seton Inang, and starring Seton Inang, this movie borrows footage from Star Wars, and borrows music from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is a great mystery what this movie was actually meant to be about. I mean, it was this strange unknown mixture of stock footage, bad explosion effects, and cut-ins of the director punching rocks for some reason. It's like we're watching a movie that is literally broken. Like, the DVD just couldn't handle its own existence anymore, and exploded inside the DVD player, leaving a glitchy, broken mess of footage, ugly greens, and fart-like sound effects.
I don't know. It seems like someone's pet project. It does seem like a bootleg, and they did steal footage, but, like, I don't know. I thought the part where he, like, karate chopped the weird alien's arm off and, like, stabbed it with it was kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of, like, a video you'd see, like, some college kids or, like, film students making, and some of the effects weren't, like, terrible, especially since I assume this came out, like, 30, 40 years ago. But, like, it's probably not super great. And yeah, if there's no subtitles and you don't know Turkish, like, yeah, you're probably not gonna understand the plot. But is it worse than the Star Wars fucking holiday special? I don't know. Like, the way PhamtomStrider explained the holiday special, where it's just terrible pacing and boring and weird, I don't know. I feel like I would probably want to watch Turkish Star Wars first, just to, like, see how goofy and weird it is, even if I didn't understand what anyone was saying or what the plot was.
And for number 6,
Stupid dummy! Kiss this.
Imagine if the most annoying internet personality in the world made a movie that celebrated all the high-pitched, head-banging, fury-inducing stupidity ever placed on YouTube. That's right, Fred made a movie. Because apparently a sitcom that scarred the reputation of an entire network wasn't enough. This film hurts me to watch because of this overwhelming, obnoxious sense of me-first American Idol narcissism that pervades every fiber of Fred's character. The plot seems to be that Fred is stalking a girl named Judy, who is clearly both blind and deaf to not pull out a shotgun on him the second she sees or hears him. And that's pretty much the whole plot, really. The problem is that Fred doesn't fit into any real category of hero, anti-hero, or even villain. The only persona Lucas Cruikshank played as Fred was annoying. There is no part of me that wants to see this character succeed. The best part of watching this movie remains seeing Fred smash his head into a wall. In fact, I made a remix of it. Fred is not a comedy. It's just this constant squeal of noise continually erupting from my speakers. If your entire audience wants the character dead by the end of the movie, then you know somewhere your movie has failed. Fred, the movie, will break your eardrums, then your spirit.
Finally, something I can comment on. So if you know my channel, you know that when I was like 10, I really liked Fred because that's when Fred came out in like 2009. And I remember when this movie came out on Nickelodeon, but when I went to watch it, it was already like halfway through the movie, so I was like, fuck it, I'll watch it another time, and then I never saw it. But I have watched a lot of videos about the Fred movies, and I'm just kind of curious why you picked the first Fred movie, because that's the one a lot of people agree is the best one. Why not Fred 2, Night of the Living Fred, or Camp Fred, like, to be your pick? Because, like, this one seems to have a lot of charm and stuff, and from the clips I've seen, all the John Cena clips are pretty funny. I like Jeanette McCurdy in it. I like the joke where he digs underground to make a tunnel, and then he pops up and the new people live there, and it's an Asian family, and he's like, oh my gamut, I dug my way to China. And I don't know, I think you could watch the Fred movie, at least the first one, and be like mildly entertained with some of the gooder fucking shit, some of the better points of the movie. And I don't see it being worse than like half the movies so far, like the Star Wars Christmas special or like The Room. I don't know, I feel like you could watch it and enjoy it the same way you can enjoy The Room, just on how goofy and weird it is. But I don't know, that's just me. Maybe it's just my nostalgia for Fred and my personal bias, but I don't think this movie should be where it is on the list. If you wanted to put Fred 2 or Camp Fred on here, I wouldn't argue. Camp Fred's pretty bad, but yeah, I don't think this is the worst Fred movie.
And the fifth worst movie is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. That's like the greatest title for a movie of all time. How could this possibly be a bad movie? But the acting. The acting is so painful, so indescribably awful. And just take one gander at these Martians. The Martian costumes look like they just waltzed into the kitchen and started sticking forks and spoons into their hats. Our green-headed twit here called King Martian kidnaps Santa Claus so we can provide Christmas cheer to the aliens. Oh, come on. Really? Sentient life reaches planet Earth for the first time in 4.5 billion years, and they want to steal our Christmas cheer?
What are those funny things sticking out of your head?
Those are our antenna.
No, they're not. Those are bent forks. The United Flipping Nations comes together to try and bring Santa Claus back from Mars. NASA organizes a rescue space mission in an attempt to rescue Santa, using only the finest in free stock footage to demonstrate this. How anyone legally sane in production could not find this the most absurd idea ever conceived baffles me.
I don't know. This movie actually sounds pretty funny, and I don't really get the issue with using stock footage in 1964. Like, what? Were they supposed to, like, do a model of a rocket blasting off? I don't know if there's any other, like, science fiction-y movies that used, like, rockets and stuff and showed special effects and stuff, but I don't really see the issue with using stock footage of a, like, rocket launch. And I think the alien designs look campy and fun. I think it just looks like an okay, funny movie that could be enjoyed like watching The Room or something. I don't see how this is worse than Fred. Like, the acting just seems like old movie acting to me from the, like, 2 clips he showed. I don't know. I don't really see how this is terrible. And he doesn't really explain it. He just says the acting is bad and doesn't really show any bad acting other than the one scene where Santa's laughing. And what's wrong with it having a dumb premise? Like, oh, they're coming here to steal Santa. It's like, yeah, like, I don't know. It just sounds silly and weird and kind of funny and goofy. I don't know. I don't see the harm in this movie.
And the fourth worst movie is Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill. Remember those times we had the television off and we couldn't see the disastrously bad train wreck of a film Adam Sandler unraveled on our screens? Yeah, those were good times. We've all seen bad from Adam Sandler before, but it takes a special kind of awful to be the worst movie Adam Sandler has ever done. And how did they accomplish this? They put Adam Sandler in drag. That's right, Sandler has a twin sister now. If you thought one Adam Sandler was bad, try two. A goofy, flatulent sister that represents every boorish, brainless frat boy joke we despise in Adam Sandler films. All captured in one big, unholy flop. Every scene, every comfortable, everyday human activity, from the dinner table to watching a basketball game, is destroyed by drag Sandler. Basic human maturity and kind-heartedness is lost in Sandler's world, replaced by schoolboy fight mantras and random squealing. But wait, it gets better, because we get a romance between Al Pacino and drag Sandler. If Sandler wants to dress in drag in his free time, sure, whatever he enjoys. But did he have to turn his kinky hobby into one of the worst movies of all time? In fact, the creators were so terrified of being booed out of every cinema they set foot into, that they outright refused to show any advanced screenings of the film. I can't say I blame them.
You take back what you said about Padogo!
However, there is one plus to this movie. We get to see Jill smashed in the face with a chair. And after seeing this movie, I can have that on repeat all day. Jack and Jill is formulaic, uncomfortable, and painfully void of any human grace whatsoever.
Okay, this is like another one that people always say about Adam Sandler, but I don't know, it just seems like a lot of Adam Sandler's later work, like Pixels, which I think was out when this video was made, Grown Ups 2, just any of those movies, like, it doesn't seem that bad, and it's like, I don't appreciate how PhamtomStrider, like, says this is Adam Sandler's kink. Does that mean that, like, what is his name? Martin Lawrence, please forgive me if I'm wrong, in Big Mama's House, that's his kink, or like Tyler Perry dressing up as Medea? I don't really see the point. I don't think it's a kink for Adam Sandler. I think he just thought it would be funny if he played himself and his sister, and I don't know, it seems like an okay concept. I just think it's Adam Sandler at doing Adam Sandler things. I don't really see the issue, but go off, I guess. Like, it's just weird, and I don't really like, oh, Al Pacino is dating Adam Sandler. It's like, okay, that sounds funny. It's like, why not do That's My Boy, or is it called That's My, yeah, I think that's the one with Adam Sandler where he gets his teacher knocked up at like 16. That was definitely out by then. So I don't know why he chose Jack and Jill other than being the safe internet option that everyone puts on top 10 lists. I don't know. Is it worse than Fred from his description? I don't know. I think like Camp Fred's probably worse than Jack and Jill. But let's see what his next thing is.
And now on to the movies that fit into that special category of rotten. And the third.
Okay, this is what made me like really make this video, because I'm kind of salty on what he picked. And remember, these movies are so bad, they're worse than Jack and Jill, Turkish Star Wars, Santa versus the Space Martians, or whatever it's called, the Fred movie, all these other movies. This movie is terrible. So we need to see what this movie is and why it is rotten, or whatever. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, his reasoning is just absurd.
Worst movie is Cat in the Hat. Ah, Dr. Seuss. It has touched the lives and very morals of so many children. It shapes so many of us today, and it's done so through beautiful, unique illustrations packed with profound, universal messages. To take something so beautiful and to corrupt it into everything wrong about cinema, you really need a rotten movie with a rotten spirit to do that. This movie isn't just bad. It is a cash-grabbing dump on something timeless and beautiful. The shameless marketing, the ugly designs, the countless lazy decisions. To take the most well-known Dr. Seuss story in history and to botch it up this bad. Mike Myers' suit looks like reanimated roadkill, and he gives the constant facial expressions of an escaped mental patient about to roger a squirrel in the national park. All the revolting greens, all the misshapen creepy colors and objects, all the endlessly tasteless jokes. It is visually appalling, the jokes are all weak as water, and the performances seem to be physically hurting the actors. Cat in the Hat movie comes from a place of no forethought, no original ideas, and most of all, no consideration for the younger viewers watching.
I don't know. I really like the Cat in the Hat movie. I think it's funny. I think the stupid, like, they're going down the waterfall, or they're going down the slide, and he's like, wow, this is so much fun. It's almost like and then everything stops. He points straight, he looks straight at the camera, and he's like, all right, at Universal parks or whatever, ka-ching. Like, I think that's funny. I think there's a lot of funny fourth wall breaky jokes in here. I like the part where he has them sign the contract, and they're like, who are all these men? And he's like, these are my magic time traveling wizards or whatever. And then he's like, sorry, they're my lawyers. Like, I think that's funny. I think it's funny when he cuts off his tail and then he like is talking about suing. I think that's funny. I just think this movie's funny. I showed this movie to my girlfriend after we originally saw this video months ago, and she agreed. The Cat in the Hat movie's funny. It's not like the best movie ever made, but I think it's good. It's just like how I think the Jim Carrey Grinch movie is good. It's like, yeah, it took like a 20-page children's book and made something else, but like I don't know. I feel like it has good morals and stuff in it too. Like, it shows like the little girl, she's a bossy girl, and none of her friends want to be her friend anymore because she's a control freak, and she learns to let go. And the boy, Conrad's like, doesn't listen to rules and stuff, and he realizes that he needs to listen, and he can't just be crazy all the time and break stuff, because that's not good and it's not healthy for his parents. And like, I thought the stuff, there's a lot of good stuff to it. I like the subplot with Alec Baldwin, and he's like the gross, creepy guy who's trying to marry their mom. I think their mom is pretty good. I like the boss character, who's like a clean freak. And like, at the beginning of the movie, the first thing you see of him is like he's shaking the new employee's hand, or the new employee shakes his hand, and he's like a clean freak, and he like immediately fires him for touching him and giving him germs. I don't know. I think it's a good movie, and there's a lot of funny parts to it, and like, I don't know. Like, if you don't like this movie because you're like, oh, I have nostalgia with like the original book or the original cartoon, that's fine, but I don't think this is so much worse than the other 7 movies, and I don't think it's mean-spirited or nasty. Like, I remember watching this like 20-minute YouTube video essay explaining this and how it's outworldly and stuff is like in the spirit of Dr. Seuss, and I kind of agree. And I don't know, I just think this is a good movie that's funny, and like there's memes from it, like with the bat and stuff, and there's like a lot of like adult jokes in it too that like as a kid I didn't get, like the like he has the hoe and he's like, dirty hoe, and then it comes back up, he's like, I mean that, baby, I love you. And like, I just think it's a funny movie. I don't know what's the issue. Like, I don't know, but let's see what the other 2 are.
And the second worst movie of all time is Garbage Pail Kids.
Ha! Called it!
Holy shit, I forgot Nostalgia Critic was in this video. Yeah, like, this is what I meant at the beginning. Like, he comes in before the video, before number 10, and he doesn't show up again until number 2. It's like, why even have like the cameo or like featuring Nostalgia Critic if he's only gonna be in it for like this short amount of time? It's just weird. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of false advertising.
Okay, I mostly agree with you. It's very close to number 1. I only think there's one worse movie than this. As Doug has said, this movie is an insult to cinema itself. It is easily among the most god-awful, poorly conceived, psychotic movies ever made. And I'm glad we can both at least agree it's certainly among the worst. The Garbage Pail Kids themselves look like pure, concentrated nightmare fuel, with hanging open mouths and mucus-like vile, oily designs that make you lose all plans for ingesting food for the rest of the day. Their fish monster faces just seem to rot off right in front of our eyes. And then you get to what these deformed horrors actually do. These revolting monsters might pull out human organs for lunch. They might draw a knife on the camera or try to bite people's toes off. They might steal and cause chaos to the neighborhood, all under the guise of being for kids. This movie was so ugly, so downright repulsive, mean-spirited, and rotten that it was pulled from theaters almost immediately due to endless complaints by angry parents. The acting is at such a bottom-rung level that you will likely feel unwell just watching the performances, gazing upon the colors, and everything these rotten creatures do. No child, no adult, no sentient creature understanding of the human condition should ever be subject to this slimy spit on all of cinema history. It is easily among the top 2 worst movies of all time.
Yeah, I've never seen this movie before, and it does look gross and stuff. Maybe it is one of the worst movies of all time. I don't know. I don't really know how he's, like, making this list. If it's just, like, these are my least favorite movies, or these are bad, like, IMDb, or, like, people didn't like them, or they're gross. I don't know. But, yeah, this one does seem bad. I've never seen it. I don't really want to see it. But I'll give him this one. This one does seem bad. Let's see what his honorable, or I guess in this case, dishonorable mentions are.
And before we get to number 1, I'd like to give the usual quick dishonorable mentions. Kung Pao. I both liked and hated this movie. On one hand, it's filled with pee jokes, flatulence jokes, annoying voices, and tongue humor. On the other hand, it's meant to be stupid and just wants to poke some fun at old kung fu movies. It got recommended, but I don't think it's quite abysmal enough to be on this list.
A couple things. One, like, what's wrong with tongue jokes? I don't really see what's bad about that. And two, like, oh, it's meant to be bad. So, like, Fred was supposed to be the way it was, because that's what, like, the YouTube videos are. So is it not bad anymore? Like, I don't know. I just feel like, oh, well, I like this one, and I think it's funny, and it's meant to be bad isn't really a good argument. Like, I feel like you could like any of these movies and just be like, yeah, objectively they're bad, but, like, subjectively I think they're very good and I like them. I don't know. I just feel like that's weak argumentation.
Troll 2. This movie is an obvious choice for the list with its abominable writing and cheesy effects, but it's technically in the horror genre, and I've excluded horror films from this list.
Why are you excluding horror? When did you say you're excluding horror? Now? Because you don't want to put Troll 2 down? The one with the, oh my god thing in it? Like, I don't know. You didn't say at the beginning of the list, like, we're not going to have any horror movies in this video. I just feel like this is, like, not fair, because I guess if he put horror in, then he wouldn't be able to put in Paris Hilton, or maybe Fred, or the Cat in the Hat. Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like this isn't in the spirit. This isn't like the top 10 worst comedy movies, or the top 10 worst live action movies, or top 10 worst action movies, sci-fi movies. Like, this is just the top 10 worst movies of all time. And then you're like, no, this entire genre, not going to be in the video. I just feel like he didn't want to watch horror movies because he doesn't like them or something. And it just doesn't seem to be in the spirit of the video.
Jem and the Holograms. No greater middle finger has ever been given to an entire generation of millennials. No part of this movie was not so revoltingly self-absorbed that it made me want to destroy every smartphone I saw.
I don't know what this movie is. I've never really heard of it, but PhamtomStrider didn't really explain what it was or what's wrong with it, because this is a dishonorable mention, I guess, and it doesn't get reasoning why it's not on the list if it makes him want to destroy every smartphone he sees. I don't know. This just feels weird. Like, what? Like, I feel like I didn't learn anything from this. Okay, then go off, I guess.
Manos, Hands of Fate. You know the best person to make a movie? A Texas fertilizer salesman. Our good friend Harold made this movie after he lost a bet with a screenwriter. And I think a blind, drunken hobo with a broken camera could have come up with a more enthralling movie.
If this movie's so bad, why isn't it on the list? You have Turkish Star Wars and Santa versus the Space Martians or whatever it's called on here, but you don't have this Hands of Fate movie that you said is so bad that a drunken hobo can make a better movie. Like, I don't get this, PhamtomStrider. You don't explain why it's not on the list. You're just like, yeah, these movies are bad. I just didn't put them on the list.
Transformers 4. God, I hate this movie, but at least it's kind of colorful some of the time when it's not trying to give you a seizure, even if it's not the absolute worst. I despise the Transformers movies for what they've done to the movie industry as a whole.
Once again, why is it not on the list then? If you hate what it's done to cinema and what it's done to movies, and you think it's terrible, why isn't it on the list? Why just be like, Transformers 4, it's bad, I hate it, next thing that's on dishonorable mentions? And it's like, I don't get it. This seems worse from your description than a lot of the movies on this list. This has probably done more harm to cinema than the Fred movie or Cat in the Hat, but yet it's not on the list. What's wrong? What makes it good? Oh, it's colorful. It's like, okay, so is Cat in the Hat. Why is Cat in the Hat on the list? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Biodome. One of the few performances that will make Adam Sandler's absolute worst performance seem as reserved as Gandhi. Understand, it is a perfectly natural reaction to want to punch the two main characters within 15 seconds of starting the movie. This means you are human and still have a sense of morality.
If it's worse than Adam Sandler, then why is Jack and Jill on the list, but this isn't? You don't make any sense, PhamtomStrider. If it's so bad you want to punch the characters and you get mad and stuff, why isn't it on the list? I know, because Jack and Jill and all the other stuff you put on here are easy targets and are more likely to get people to clap and go, haha, yeah, I know that one. YouTube man said that's bad, and this YouTube man says it's bad. He, he. Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
Anyway, here we go. And without a doubt, the number one worst movie of all time is... Freddy got fingered.
You know, people argue all the time, what's the best trilogy? Is it Lord of the Rings? Back to the Future? No, it's fucking Freddy Got Fingered. The Freddy Got Fingered trilogy. Let's maybe it'll be a pentology after this episode, a quintuplegy. Let's get 18 more copies of this bullshit, because you guys are so fucking funny with your Freddy Got Fingered bullshit. Look, where's the next copy? Let's see if we can find it. Is this Freddy Got Fingered? There's gotta be one in here. This is a DVD case. I guarantee you, this is Freddy Got Fingered. You wanna bet? You wanna fucking bet? You wanna fucking bet? You wanna fucking bet? God fucking damn it. I knew it! I knew it! God damn it. Why, Freddy? Why did you get fingered so many times? This poor man.
Yeah, so I've never seen Freddy Got Fingered. I just know that it's a joke on Monkey Jones, Simeon Jimmy's channel, that whenever he does a mailbag, people send him copies of it. And I know Chuck Green's in it, but I don't know anything else besides that. Let's see what he has to say.
First off, I'm sorry in advance. When humans first created moving pictures so long ago, did they ever conceive that such a detestable, empty, worthless nightmare could exist? In what part of any human's creative vision does this thing fit? Imagine a grotesque man who never grew up, who thrived on shows about breaking things on reality TV and throwing fecal matter into people's faces. Now imagine if that attention-seeking, brainless twit got $14 million for his own movie to write and star in. Welcome to the most immature, vile, ugly, grotesque movie ever conceived by man. Welcome to Freddy Got Fingered. This is not a comedy film, as it likes to claim. This is a horror film. As we watch this creature try to outgross himself, you will likely have some of the symptoms of horror. You will likely feel like vomiting, screaming. You will probably look on your screen in horror, terrified of what's going to happen next. This movie is like an inescapable night terror Freud was having during his creepier phase. Does it think it's being smart? There is some dark part of the recesses of our mind where we forget what is downright wrong and assume that these will never happen. Then Tom Green comes along, gutting a deer carcass and wearing it, swinging a newborn infant on an umbilical cord, playing with animal genitalia. See, most people in the population have that part of their brain that says subjects like paraplegics, child abuse, and mental illnesses are subjects that need to be treated with care and respect. But some missing part of Tom Green's brain lets him think these subjects are to be mocked and used to disturb every viewer watching. Tom plays Gord, who tries to be a cartoonist apparently, but rapidly returns to being a slacker trying to outgross himself and upset his family. I cannot understand a world where this thing is funny, where it's anything but a collection of the concentrated worst of humanity. At least Jack and Jill came from Sandler just attempting to make people laugh. In my opinion, this is the ultimate black hole of all cinema. The most brainless, revolting, disturbing, immoral, empty husk ever conceived by some mentally disturbed human. There is absolutely no doubt for me. In my opinion, Freddy Got Fingered is the absolute worst movie of all time. Whew.
Like I said, I've never seen this movie. I think I'll buy it on Amazon, because it seems like you can buy a DVD of it for like $8 used, and I think I'll try it out and see what I think of it. Looking at Amazon reviews, there does seem to be quite a few people who think it's funny. I don't really see how it's the worst movie ever, and the whole point where it's like, at least Jack and Jill was made to make people laugh. It's like, you don't think Freddy Got Fingered was made to make people laugh? I don't know. I just think it's probably not the best movie ever, but I don't think it's like the worst movie ever made, probably. I'll watch it and I'll see what I think, and I'll let you guys know. Anyways, guys, that will be the end of the video today. I hope you guys all enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think I should do next, if I should do more videos covering other videos, if there's any videos you want me to cover, be it anime, movie, shows, whatever, and I'll check it out. And I've been ByronTheDragonKing, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.